Former NFL player Michael Oher, who the hit movie The Blind Side is based on, says the couple who took him in never adopted him and instead made him sign an agreement to make them his conservators. It's the second time in recent years that a celebrity claims they were placed under an abusive conservatorship. As you may remember, Britney Spears spent 13 years living under a conservatorship before it finally came to an end in 2021. But there may be some things people still don't know about conservatorships and how they work. So joining us now to talk about it is family law attorney James Bogatay. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Heather.
And I do think we hear this word now in headlines and in the news, but many of us may not know fully what it is. So what is a conservatorship?
So a conservatorship is a legal mechanism where a judge can grant a third party, either an individual or an entity, the right to act in another person's behalf. So conservatorships are specifically related to your business or your property or your finances. They don't have so much to do with your personal care. That's a separate action. But it is the highest form of granting somebody else rights.
Well, and I think what we've seen in a couple of the recent news stories, and in following Britney Spears, for instance, some of the negative side effects of this. But this has to be in place for positives too. Is that right?
Sure. It is typically reserved for people that are incapacitated and can't act on their own. That's why these two cases are so interesting. But typically, you know, if you have someone with a special needs child that's about to turn 18, or your parents or grandparents or seniors that can no longer take care of themselves, these are very necessary legal proceedings so that their loved ones can act in their place.
Okay, so let's talk about the differences between what we were hearing with Michael Oher and Britney Spears. What are the two situations there that we were hearing about?
So the biggest difference in these cases is the idea of incapacity. To act in somebody else's state legally is obviously a very significant act. Right. So you need to not be able to act in your own capacity. And so Britney Spears, there's a question about her mental health during that period of time. Obviously, it's all over television. You know, she shaved her head, some of the actions. The allegations there were that she no longer could take care of herself or her business dealings. The Michael Oher case is very interesting because there were never any of those type of allegations.
Right.
Conservatorship is diametrically opposed to adoption. I adopted my daughter at a young age. If she were to now find out as an adult that I was her conservator and not her parent, that would be incredibly significant. So
right.
The biggest thing here is it seems like the Michael Oher case was done for a different purpose.
Yeah.
Britney Spears, maybe to take care of her for a while, but conservatorships can be temporary, and it seems like it was appropriate for hers to end.
Well, you even using it as a personal example, even hearing that, I would think that also comes with some trauma too, and processing that, which may be what we're seeing with Michael too.
Very much so. I asked my daughter, you know, if you were to find out as an adult that I was not your parent and this was not an adoption, I just took control of your business dealings, how would that be? And, you know, obviously utter devastation. So I think he's dealing with a lot of that.
Can we talk about how it looks in Pennsylvania? Mm-hmm. Is there anything unique to how we handle conservatorships?
There is. First of all, the nomenclature. So in Pennsylvania, we call everything guardianships, just for simplicity. There's guardianship of the person, which is your health decisions. And then there's guardianship of the estate. So that is actually, you know, your financial dealings. Pennsylvania is nice because we have a lot more controls. You go before a judge to make sure that the person that's giving up their rights lacks capacity. You get a doctor's deposition or testimony to state the same, hey, they can't take care of themselves. So there are more, and you file annual reports. There's more controls in place in Pennsylvania to make sure that nobody's taking advantage of it.
And you know, you brought up something really important because I think a lot of people are in this sandwich generation where they're taking care of their maybe older parents. Is there anything that they should consider or precautions they should take when thinking about a guardianship or a conservatorship?
For sure. I think in circumstances like this, a lot of people fear themselves being taken advantage of. But in Pennsylvania, there's a lot of controls to stop that from happening. The biggest issue is if your parents are in the full-time care of someone else. There are a lot of memory, cognitive decline type issues out there and disorders. When a parent or a senior has memory problems, you can reprogram their memory. So I've had cases where father and son are best friends, and a caregiver starts saying, don't you remember, you don't want them in the home, they stole from you. They steal from you, you said you hate them. So it's really important to stay in close contact, even if you trust people that are taking care of your loved ones, to make sure that you're fresh in their mind, that their memories are their own, and that they're not to be taken advantage of.
It's so scary when you think about, people like that who are especially vulnerable.
Sure.
And is there anything that we can do to minimize our risk when it comes to this?
Talk to a lawyer.
Yeah.
That's always going to sound self-serving, but our job is to navigate these issues and to bring in the proper controls.
Right.
And if you have a loved one that's subject to a guardianship and you have concerns, you can just go to the court that is in charge of that case and request a review hearing, and they'll pull everybody in the room and make sure everything's on the up and up.
Thank you so much for walking us through this and giving us some more detail about it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Really appreciate it. And we'll be right back after this.